You're running Shopify theme dev, you save a section file, and a moment later your browser just updates, no manual refresh, sometimes not even a full page reload. What actually happens in between those two moments? Today we open the real source of the Shopify CLI itself, the tool every theme developer runs, and trace that one save all the way through a file watcher, an upload call, and a live reload channel most people never think to ask about. Then we look at what changes when that same code path has to push an entire theme instead of one file. Welcome back to Shopify Development Deep Dive. The first 6 parts stayed inside a theme's own files: liquid, JSON templates, sections, settings. Today we step outside the theme and into the tool that actually ships it, the Shopify CLI. Specifically the theme package inside it, the real TypeScript source behind 2 commands every theme developer runs constantly, Shopify theme dev and Shopify theme push. We're reading this at tag 4.1.0, tagged May 27, 2026. 5 things by the end of this part. The real flags behind Shopify theme dev, including its 3 documented live reload modes. How the CLI's local development server picks a default host, a default port, and builds the theme editor preview URL you get printed to your terminal. The real file watching library wired into the CLI, and the exact debounce window it waits before reacting to a save. Why live reload is built on server-sent events rather than a WebSocket, and what that choice actually looks like in the request handler. And how the separate theme push command orders in batches an entire theme's files, because uploading 500 files in the wrong order can genuinely break the theme it's uploading. Here's the whole path in 5 stages. You save a section or a CSS file on disk. The CLI's Chokidar-based watcher detects the change, but waits a real 250 millisecond debounce window before reacting, in case more edits land in the same instant. It then calls bulk upload theme assets to upload just that one changed file, not the whole theme. The hot reload server, running as part of the same local dev server, emits a server-sent events message describing what changed. And the browser, listening on that same event stream, either patches just the affected section or stylesheet in place, or does a full page reload depending entirely on which live reload mode you're running in. A short list again. Parts 1 through 6 of this series, especially the schema block and settings_schema.json from part 6, since today's uploader has strong opinions about the order those files get pushed in. Basic familiarity with running a command line tool and reading a TypeScript function signature is enough. We're not writing CLI code today, just reading it. The Shopify CLI itself runs on node.js, same as any other Node command line tool, so having Node installed locally is really the only setup this assumes. And no prior experience with Chokidar, with H3, or with server-sent events is required. We introduce each one as it shows up. This is the real live-reload flag straight out of dev.ts, the command file behind Shopify theme dev. It documents exactly 3 modes. Hot-reload, the default, hot reloads local changes to CSS into sections without a full refresh. Full-page always refreshes the entire page on any change, no partial updates at all. And off deactivates live reload completely. Notice this isn't a guess about behavior, it's the literal options array the CLI validates your flag value against. This is the real URLs object built by services.dev.ts once the dev server starts. The default host is 127.0.0.1, and the default port is 9292. That's the local host address printed in your terminal every time you run Shopify theme dev. But notice the theme editor URL, it's a real Shopify admin URL, with a query parameter literally named H or set to your local port number. That's how the hosted theme editor in your browser knows to connect back to your machine's local hot reload server at all. This is the real file watcher, straight from theme-fs.ts, and it answers what actually watches your theme folder, a library called Chokidar, the same file watcher a lot of the Node ecosystem relies on, not something Shopify built from scratch. The constant right above it, file_event_debounce_time_in_ms, is set to 250. That's the real number behind the debounce we saw on the diagram. And the watcher listens for 3 raw file system events: add, change, and unlink, meaning a deleted file, each one funneled through the same QFS event function before anything gets uploaded. Once the debounce window closes, this is the real function that actually uploads your one changed file bulk upload theme assets, called with an array containing exactly one file, not the whole theme. But look at the 2 trigger browser full reload calls. If the upload fails, it forces a full browser reload rather than trying to hot swap something that didn't actually sync. And if a file that previously failed finally succeeds, it also forces a full reload deliberately, to guarantee the browser isn't left in a half-patched state from an earlier error. Hot reload is the default path, but the CLI's own error handling falls back to the safer, blunter option whenever sync state gets uncertain. Here's a detail that surprises a lot of people: live reload in the Shopify CLI is not built on a WebSocket. This is the real handler from hot-reload/server.ts, and it's built on H3's create event stream function, which implements server sent events, a plain long-lived HTTP response with the accept header set to text/event-stream, where the server just keeps writing JSON encoded messages onto the same connection. It's a simpler, one-directional protocol than a WebSocket, and it's genuinely enough for this job, because the browser never needs to send anything back over this particular channel, it only needs to listen. This is the real function deciding, per file change, whether the browser gets a targeted hot swap or a full reload. If your live-reload flag is set to off, it returns immediately and does nothing at all. If it's set to full-page, every single change goes through full reload, no exceptions. Only in the default hot-reload mode does it emit the more granular sync events, one for local, one for remote, that let the browser patch just the changed style sheet or section in place. The three-way flag from step 1 isn't just documentation, this is the literal branch that enforces it. ThemeDev uploads one file at a time as you save, but ThemePush has a much harder problem, pushing an entire theme's files at once, or some of them genuinely depend on each other. This is the real comment and the real constants from theme-uploader.ts. Settings_schema.json must upload first, because it declares the theme-wide settings other files validate against. Blocks upload before sections, sections before JSON templates, and settings_data.json, the merchant's actual saved values, must upload dead last, because it gets validated against everything that came before it. And independent batches, like plain assets, are still capped at 20 files or 1 megabyte per request, whichever limit hits first. Stated as one real chain, start to finish. You run Shopify ThemeDev. You edit a single section file. Chokidar detects it, waits its 250 millisecond debounce, and calls bulk upload theme assets with an array holding exactly that one file. The hot reload server, built on H3's server sent events, emits a message describing what changed. And because you're on the default hot-reload mode, the browser hot swaps just that section in place, no full reload, no manual refresh, and notably, no rebuild step of any kind, because there's nothing to compile in the first place. A few things worth being precise about. Live reload runs over server sent events, not a WebSocket. The browser only ever listens on that connection, it never sends anything back over it. A failed upload always forces a full reload, even if you're running in hot-reload mode, specifically to avoid leaving the browser in a half-patched, inconsistent state. The actual client-side JavaScript that listens for these events and patches the DOM ships as its own separate published package, @Shopify/theme-hot-reload, injected into the page rather than living inside the CLI's own repository. And it's worth being precise that ThemeDev's persave upload and ThemePush's full theme batch upload are genuinely different code paths, one file at a time behind dev, ordered dependency batches behind push, even though both eventually call the same underlying upload API. Pulling it together. Shopify ThemeDev's live-reload flag has three real modes: hot-reload by default, full-page, and often a real branch in triggerHotReload enforces exactly that choice. A real Chokidar Watcher debounces every file change by 250 milliseconds before uploading just the one file that actually changed. Live reload itself runs over server-sent events built on H3, and any failed sync forces a full reload rather than risking a half-patched browser. ThemePush, a genuinely different code path, orders files by real dependency rules schema first, settings data last, and batches everything else at 20 files or 1 megabyte per request. Same underlying upload API, two very different jobs built on top of it. That's the real path from one saved file, through a debounced Chokidar Watcher and a server-sent events channel, to a live browser update, and what changes when the CLI has to push an entire theme instead. Part 8 stays inside the Shopify CLI ecosystem and opens Shopify/theme-checks real source, the linter that catches liquid and theme mistakes automatically before they ever reach a merchant store. If you want the rest of this series as it publishes, subscribe now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in Part 8.